All right, let's jump into another deep dive. Today, we're taking a close look at EVgo.
EVgo.
Yeah, the
But-
company building those charging stations for all those electric vehicles we keep hearing about.
Right.
And our source is a Motley Fool article, fresh off the press.
Uh-huh.
It's titled, Where Will EVgo Stock Be in 1 Year? Published, today,
Okay.
January 28th, 2025. Now, EVgo, their stock,
Yeah.
it's been on a bit of a roller coaster ride
Well,
since they went public back in 2021.
I bet.
I mean, we're talking about an 80% drop.
Oh.
So naturally,
Yeah.
we're going to dig into whether this company is actually poised for a comeback
Mm.
or if they're headed for more trouble,
Yeah, it is really interesting to see a company like EVgo trying to find its footing
Yeah,
in this industry, electric vehicles. I
Right.
mean, it's exciting, it's volatile.
absolutely.
There's all this hope for the future, but then there are the practical challenges
Oh, yeah.
of actually building the infrastructure to support all these EVs,
If infrastructure...
like the charging stations.
Exactly.
Well, the article points out that EVgo, I mean, they came out swinging, right?
They did, yeah.
They set some pretty ambitious revenue targets,
Uh-huh.
and they were aiming to hit profitability by 2023.
Yes. And to their credit, they did manage to hit those revenue targets,
Okay.
which is impressive in itself.
It is. Yeah.
But their adjusted EBITDA,
Okay.
that's a way to measure profitability without certain costs,
Right.
remained
Negative, yeah.
And that's what really spooked investors.
Yeah. Yeah, that's understandable.
It makes you wonder if those initial projections were maybe a little too optimistic.
A little too rosy, yeah.
And then there's the competition.
The competition.
Tesla, they opened up their supercharger network
Right.
with other brands of EVs.
Right. Yeah.
And ChargePoint
Oh,
have already got a pretty massive network of chargers out there.
they do. So it's definitely a crowded space.
It is. It's a crowded space.
Yeah.
It's not exactly smooth sailing for EVgo.
No, not at all.
But the article does point out some positive trends.
Sure.
Despite all these challenges
Interesting.
they've faced, right?
Yeah, what's encouraging is that they've continued to grow,
Okay.
even with like the EV market cooling down a little
Mm-hmm.
and interest rates going up.
It got up. Yeah.
They're installing more charging stalls.
Right.
Their network throughput.
Throughput.
Yeah, that's the amount of energy they're delivering through their chargers.
I see.
It's measured in gigawatt hours. That's increasing.
Wow.
And their customer base is growing too.
All right. So some actual signs of progress.
Signs of progress.
And, they've been improving that adjusted EBITDA margin.
Right.
So even though they haven't hit profitability yet,
Right.
they are moving in the right direction, slowly but surely.
Exactly. It suggests they're getting better at managing those costs, becoming more efficient,
Right.
which is really important for long-term success.
Absolutely. Long-term success. Now, this is where things get really interesting.
Okay, I'm listening.
EVgo has this, it's an incredibly bold goal.
Okay.
They want to triple their network size by 2029.
Triple. Wow.
Yeah, it's a big jump.
That's a big jump.
So the question is, do they have the resources to actually pull this off?
Right, with all the competition and the challenges.
Exactly.
Well, their partnership with General Motors,
Yeah.
that's a major factor.
It is.
It's not just about like branding
Yeah.
or a simple agreement.
Right.
It gives them access to GM's entire dealer network.
Huge network.
Huge for installing chargers.
So they could reach millions of new customers.
Potentially, yeah.
Right? Where they're already shopping for cars.
Exactly. Makes a lot of sense, right?
It does.
If you're buying a brand new EV
Yeah.
from a GM dealer, having a charging station right there,
Convenient.
it removes a huge barrier to adoption.
Oh, absolutely.
And then there's that loan
the loan.
from the Department of Energy.
Right.
Can't forget about that.
Yeah. How might EVgo leverage that funding for this expansion?
Well, that $1.25 billion loan
Billion. Wow.
is a game changer.
It is.
Gives them serious financial firepower to invest heavily in building out their charging infrastructure.
Yeah.
The government, they're basically putting their money where their mouth is.
Right.
When it comes to supporting the EV industry.
They are.
They get it. Wider EV adoption hinges on having enough charging stations.
Absolutely. It's essential. It's a clear signal that they see EVgo as a key player
It seems like it.
in making electric transportation a reality.
Yeah, but let's circle back to those financial risks.
Okay.
For a moment, dilution.
Dilution. Yeah.
That's a valid concern.
It is.
For investors.
Right.
Isn't issuing more shares essentially like slicing the pie into smaller and smaller pieces?
Yeah, it's a good way to put it.
For existing shareholders,
Yeah.
dilution can definitely impact shareholder value.
Mm-hmm.
But it's important to remember that companies often issue more shares to raise capital for growth, right?
Makes sense.
So in EVgo's case,
Yeah.
they're using that capital to build more charging stations, expand their network,
Right.
and ultimately become more profitable.
Hopefully.
Hopefully, yeah.
So it's a trade-off.
It is.
Investors might see their ownership percentage decrease in the short term.
Yeah.
But the hope is that the company's growth leads to higher share prices down the line.
Exactly. It's a bet on the future.
A bet on the future. And that's where those insider stock sales,
The insider sales,
come into play.
Yeah.
It's understandable why investors might be a little concerned
A little. Yeah.
when they see insiders selling off more shares than they're buying.
Right.
It could be interpreted as a lack of faith in the company's prospects.
That's one interpretation.
Right.
Especially with all the other challenges they're facing.
But like, what if the EV market doesn't grow as quickly as they're anticipating?
Yeah.
Or if interest rates keep climbing,
Uh-huh.
making it more expensive for them to borrow money.
Those are valid concerns, yeah.
Yeah.
Their success is tied to factors beyond their control, right? A slowdown in EV adoption.
Yeah.
Or unfavorable economic conditions could really throw a wrench in their plans.
Even with the government loan.
Even with the loan.
And the GM partnership.
And the partnership.
Yeah, so they're walking a tightrope.
It seems that way.
Trying to balance their internal strategy
Right.
with these external forces they can't fully control.
Yeah. That's a tough spot to be in.
It is. It is. So what stands out to you as the biggest potential roadblock for EVgo?
That's a tough question.
It is a tough one.
All these factors are kind of interconnected.
Yeah.
It's hard to isolate just one
Mm-hmm.
as the biggest threat, you know?
Right.
But I think execution is key.
Execution. Okay.
You can have the best partnerships, the most funding,
The best strategy.
the best strategy, but if they can't execute effectively, it won't matter.
Makes sense.
They need to make smart decisions
Right.
about where to build those charging stations, how to manage those costs,
Yeah.
and how to provide like a seamless, reliable charging experience for customers.
So it's not just about having a vision.
No.
It's about turning that vision into reality.
Exactly. Yeah.
And their ability to execute. I mean, that has implications not just for EVgo itself,
Right.
but for the wider EV charging industry as well.
Absolutely. If EVgo succeeds
Yeah.
in building a profitable nationwide charging network,
Mm-hmm.
it could inspire confidence
Right.
and encourage further investment in the sector.
Yeah.
It would basically be a signal
Yeah.
that large-scale, commercially viable EV charging is
Yeah.
achievable.
But if they struggle,
Yeah, if they struggle.
it could raise doubts
Yeah.
about the long-term viability
Well, the whole industry.
of the whole industry.
Exactly.
So EVgo's journey,
Yeah.
it's kind of a bellwether for the entire EV charging market.
I like that. A bellwether.
Yeah.
Oh, it's a high-stakes game
It is.
with potentially huge implications.
Huge implications.
Exactly. And that's what makes it so fascinating to follow.
It does.
It's a reminder that even in a market like this, growing so rapidly,
Yeah.
success is far from guaranteed.
It's not a
It
given.
requires adaptability,
Mm-hmm.
strategic thinking,
Right.
and flawless execution.
Flawless execution. It's a tall order.
It is. It is. Building on those signs of growth, it's interesting to look at EVgo's plans for the future.
Yeah. Their plans.
They're really leaning into this aggressive expansion
As
strategy.
you mentioned, right?
Yeah. And it'll be interesting to see how that plays out.
Well, they've set this goal. I mean, it's ambitious.
It is.
To triple their network size by 2029.
2029. Yeah.
What makes them think they can pull this off, given everything?
Given everything. Yeah.
The competition, the challenges they've already faced.
Well, I think the partnership with General Motors is a huge part of that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's not just a simple branding deal or anything.
Right, right.
This gives EVgo access to GM's entire dealer network
Massive.
for installing chargers, potentially millions of new customers.
Wow, right? Where people are already shopping for cars.
Exactly. It's smart.
It is. It is. And then, of course, there's that massive loan from the Department of Energy.
Oh, yeah. Can't forget about that.
How might EVgo actually use that funding for this expansion?
Well, that $1.25 billion loan,
Billion with a B.
it's a game changer.
Mm-hmm.
It gives them the financial muscle to really invest
Okay.
in building out their infrastructure.
Yeah.
It's a sign that the government's serious
Yeah.
about supporting the EV industry.
They're putting their money where their mouth is.
Exactly.
It's a clear signal that they see EVgo as a key player in this transition.
To electric transportation.
To electric transportation, yeah. But let's go back to the financial risks for a second.
Okay. Yeah.
Dilution, it's a valid concern for investors.
It is.
Isn't issuing more shares basically, slicing the pie into smaller and smaller pieces?
Yeah, it's a good analogy.
For existing shareholders.
Right. And dilution can definitely impact shareholder value.
Mm-hmm.
But it's important to remember that companies often issue more shares to raise capital.
Right, to fuel growth.
Exactly, for growth.
So in EVgo's case, they're using that capital to build more charging stations,
Build more, yeah.
expand the network,
Right.
and hopefully, ultimately, become more profitable.
The hope is, yeah.
So it's a trade-off.
It is, it is.
Investors might see their ownership percentage decrease in the short term,
Yeah,
but the hope is that growth will lead to higher share prices down the line.
exactly. It's a bet on the company's potential.
A bet on the future potential. And that's where those insider stock sales get interesting.
The insider sales, yeah.
It's understandable why investors might be concerned
I get it.
when they see insiders selling off more shares than they're buying.
Yeah.
It can be interpreted as a lack of faith in the company's future.
It's possible.
Right. Especially with all the other challenges EVgo is facing.
Right. What if the EV market doesn't grow as quickly as they're hoping?
Exactly. Or if interest rates keep going up.
Making it more expensive to borrow.
Yeah,
Those are legitimate concerns.
they are.
Their success is tied to things they can't control.
Outside factors.
A slowdown in EV adoption or just a bad economic climate,
Yeah.
it could really mess things up.
Even with the loan and the GM partnership.
Even with all of that, yeah.
So they're walking a tightrope,
They are.
trying to balance their strategy with these external factors.
That they can't control.
Yeah. What do you think is the biggest potential roadblock for EVgo?
That's a tough one to say.
It is a tough one.
I mean, all these factors are interconnected.
They are.
It's hard to pick just one as the biggest threat,
Right.
but I think execution is key.
Execution.
Yeah, you can have the best partnerships, the most funding,
The best strategy.
the best strategy in the world. But if you can't execute,
Yeah.
it doesn't matter.
It's all for nothing.
They have to make smart decisions,
Like what?
where to build those charging stations, how to manage costs,
Keep those costs down.
yeah, and how to provide a really good customer
A
experience.
seamless experience.
Seamless and reliable, yeah.
So it's not just about having a vision.
It's about making it a reality.
It's about turning that vision into a reality.
Yeah.
And that ability to execute,
Mm-hmm.
that has implications not just for EVgo,
Right.
but for the entire EV charging industry.
Absolutely. If EVgo succeeds
Yeah.
in building a profitable nationwide network,
Nationwide.
yeah, it could really boost confidence in the sector
Mm-hmm.
and encourage more investment.
Right.
It would be a signal that large-scale, commercially viable EV charging is possible.
It would be a huge win.
It would.
But if they struggle,
If they struggle.
it could raise some serious doubts.
Yeah, about the future of the industry.
The viability of the whole thing.
Exactly.
So EVgo's journey,
Yeah.
it's kind of a bellwether for the entire EV charging market.
A bellwether. I like that.
Right. It's a high-stakes game
It is high stakes,
with big implications.
huge implications for everyone involved.
And that's what makes it so interesting to watch.
It is. It is.
It's a reminder that even in a fast-growing market like this, success is not guaranteed.
It's not. It takes adaptability, strategic thinking,
Thinking ahead.
and flawless execution to really make it work.
Flawless execution, it's a lot to ask.
It is a lot to ask.
EVgo, I mean, they're at a pivotal moment, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, it seems that way.
They've made it through some tough times, but there's still so much uncertainty.
Uh-huh.
Their future really hinges on their ability to
Execute, yeah.
on those big expansion plans
Right.
while navigating, the financial risks and all that competitive pressure.
A lot to juggle.
It is. Their story so far,
Yeah.
it really shows that growth, it doesn't always follow a straight line,
No, it doesn't.
especially in a field like this.
Especially in an industry as dynamic as this one,
Mm-hmm.
constantly changing.
Yeah.
They've been resilient, but they'll need to keep adapting.
Adapting, yeah. We've covered a lot today.
We have.
From EVgo's early struggles with profitability
Right.
to their ambitious plans for growth.
Ambitious, yeah.
What do you think are the key takeaways for our listener?
Good question.
What should they be thinking about as they follow EVgo's progress?
Well, I think the main takeaway is that investing in a company like this,
Like EVgo?
yeah, it's a bet on the future of electric vehicles.
The future of transportation.
It's a huge market with tons of potential, but it's still early.
Early stages.
And there are definitely risks.
Inherent risks.
Yeah, EVgo's story really shows the challenges and opportunities that come with being a pioneer.
A pioneer in a new field.
Exactly. It's a reminder that there are no guarantees.
No guarantees, even with
strong partnerships.
Government backing.
Government support.
A solid strategy.
Yeah, all of that.
Success is not inevitable.
It's not a given. You need constant adaptation, careful execution.
And probably a bit of luck.
And a little bit of luck, yeah.
For anyone thinking about investing in EVgo, or the EV charging sector in general, it's crucial to do your research.
Your homework.
Understand the financials.
Yeah, the growth trend.
The competitive landscape.
And the broader economic factors.
Right, that could impact their performance.
It's not a passive investment. You got to stay informed.
Stay informed.
And be ready for some ups and downs.
Volatility.
Yeah, volatility.
Yeah.
EVgo's story. It's like a microcosm of the bigger trends that are shaping the future of how we get around.
The future of transportation.
It's exciting.
It is.
It's unpredictable. And it has the potential to change everything.
I agree.
We've only scratched the surface in this deep dive.
Yeah, just a glimpse.
But hopefully we've given our listener
a good starting point.
A foundation.
For understanding this complex industry and all the factors that will shape EVgo's success.
Yeah, it's a story worth following.
Absolutely. It's a story worth watching closely.
This is a space that's ripe for innovation.
Oh, yeah.
Disruption, big changes are happening.
Right. And the decisions that companies like EVgo are making today, those will have ripple effects for years to come.
Absolutely. So stay tuned, stay curious.
Stay curious.
And buckle up.
Buckle up. I like that. Well, that's a great note to end on.
I think so.
Thanks for joining us for this deep dive.
My pleasure.
We'll be back soon with another fascinating topic to explore.
Looking forward to it.
Until then, keep those minds engaged.